Hello! In this video, I will be giving you all step-by-step instructions on how to make white bread dinner rolls. I've been baking with my grandmother for as long as I can remember, and this recipe is one of her own concocting, even if it is relatively basic. This recipe is by Florence Engler, acquired March 4th, 2018. So to start off, you're going to need some basic materials such as an oven, a large mixing bowl, measuring cups of 1/4 and 1 size, a tablespoon, a teaspoon, a mixing spoon, a baking sheet, and cooking spray or cooking paper that you can put on the baking sheet. Along with your basic materials, you will also need ingredients such as honey, warm water, yeast, vegetable oil, salt, an egg, and white flour. According to an article called Bread Baking Tips and Techniques, use a dry measuring cup to measure dry ingredients and use a liquid measuring cup to measure the liquids. Step 1, yeast. So to start, you're going to use your large mixing bowl and add in 1/4 cup of honey, 2 cups of warm water, and 1 tablespoon of yeast. After you do this, it should look something similar to the picture on the right. After you add the yeast, let it sit for about 15 minutes to make sure that the yeast you used is active. If it is, it'll look similar to this picture on the left. If not, it won't have changed at all. It is important that your yeast is active because if it's not, then your bread won't rise. After checking to make sure that your yeast is active, you are then going to add 3 tablespoons of oil, 1 teaspoon of salt, and you can add an egg if you want. It is not required, especially if you have small children that like to eat dough. Then you're going to stir all the ingredients together, and it should look similar to the picture on the right. Once all of your ingredients are stirred, you're going to start adding flour about 1 cup at a time, stirring the flour in as you go, until the dough is no longer sticky. After a few cups, the dough will get too hard to stir, and you will have to use your hands instead of the spoon. It'll look similar to this. Once you add enough flour so your dough is no longer sticky, you are going to knead your dough. An article called Tips and Tricks by Fleischmann's Bread World gives easy-to-follow steps on how to knead bread, shown on the next slide. After you're done with this, you're going to fold the dough into a ball and cover it with a cloth to let rise for an hour. First, you're going to flatten the dough and fold it towards you. Then, using the heels of your hands, push the dough away with a rolling motion. Rotate the dough a quarter turn and repeat the fold, push, and turn steps, kneading the dough until it becomes smooth and elastic. Once you have let the dough rise for an hour, you're going to get out a baking sheet and put either cooking spray or cooking paper on it. Then you're going to take bits of the dough ball and make it into smaller, palm-sized dinner rolls. Make sure they are all roughly the same size or they will cook unevenly. After they are made into dinner rolls, cover them and let them rise for another hour. After you have let the rolls rise for an hour, they should be almost double in size. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees and cook the dinner rolls on the middle shelf for about 20 minutes or until the bottoms are slightly darker. After about 20 minutes, you're going to take the dinner rolls out of the oven, and they should look similar on top and on bottom to the picture on the right. Make sure that you do not overcook the dinner rolls. You also do not want to undercook them, especially if you choose to add the egg. Make sure you double check all of the measurements for your ingredients. For example, you do not want to add a tablespoon of salt rather than a teaspoon of salt.
Created using Powtoon.